welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man who keeps gallons of spontaneously combustible jars in his home. It's John Levingood.
Well, yeah, I keep them over by my collection of Buddhas.
Yeah, so you have about 18 Buddhas that weigh about 75 pounds each, and they're next to all these jars and buckets and barrels of things that say spontaneously combustible. Why?
Kerosene, turpentine. I mean, I'm a collector. I collect Blu-rays and DVDs. I collect random containers of flammable fluids. It's really good if you're a fan of Final Destination movies.
Yeah, that's why, you know, John, for a while I made up a lot of excuses about going to your house, like, hey, traffic, or I just don't have the time, or I'm sick. Well, I gotta tell you, I just don't feel comfortable next to all those spontaneously combustible things in your home.
I mean, who the hell would? That's why I keep it so cool in the house all the time.
All right, so hey, we're finishing up. We're doing the Final Destination and Final Destination 5. And I was watching Final Destination 5, and I had a eureka moment, John. Do you want to hear about it?
Okay, all right.
I'm watching Final Destination 5, and I start noticing a pattern. I start noticing that there's a lot of squishes. There's a lot of pops. There's a lot of smooshes. There's a lot of goop. There's a lot of brain chunk matter flying. There's just squishy noises galore. And there's many reasons to like this movie, but I feel like that's the main reason why you love Final Destination 5. Because there's a scene where a woman's eyeball pops out of her head and goes, and then it rolls down, and then a car runs over it, and it goes again. It makes popping noises.
Both tires.
Yes.
Both tires, too.
So is that part of we both love Final Destination 5. But is that a big reason why you love it, just because all the squishiness?
You know, it helps. Let's ignore the fact that the characters are the most congenial of the whole franchise. We'll just totally ignore that for the sake of, because we have brought up many times how much I love gooey, squishy, generally disgusting, sloppy, chunky, gory movies. And this movie does, and when it comes with the sound effects, it brings it all together, you know? It's like James Gunn's Slither. You can't just have all that gooiness without the weird sounds that go with it. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. And yeah, this movie has quite a diversity of squishy, sloppity, goopity, splattery plus sound.
And when Peter Friedkin, great last name, is speared through the eye, squish, right? When Sam...
Right.
The very nice chef. No, wait. I think I'm mixing him up. Yeah, Peter, and then Sam's the nice kid, the main character. When he's sliced in half, squish. I mean, and when the guy gets, he falls, smushes on glass. Also, after Friedkin gets a squish through his eye, then he falls a very long distance and squishes on something else. So it's just squish galore. I love it. Good.
Yeah, he careens off of that cement.
They're tasteful squishy noises, though. They're not distasteful squishy noises.
Yeah, they're not going out of their way trying to gross you out with the sound itself. They're just trying to make the appropriate. It's like they found real good Foley artists instead of like, hey guys, just make fart noises and some pudding. Yeah. Imagine making a fart noise in pudding when someone's guts fall out. That would just be silly. That's like Toxic Avenger Part 8.
Yeah, and they probably did that in the Final Destination. So can we call the Final Destination just Final 4? Can we just call it, or 4?
Sure.
Because I hate saying
Part
the
4.
Final Destination. Now, also,
that's annoying.
You and I, John, we went through the entire Resident Evil series. We went 1 through 6 episodes. Which did you enjoy the rewatch of more? The Resident Evil series or the Final Destination series?
So I liked them both for very different reasons, right? So the Resident Evil thing was very nostalgic. I liked that we took a whole episode for each movie, but sometimes you get a little Resident Evil fatigue and you start to merge things from the timeline. So you have to keep very, very copious notes. So that's kind of difficult. Whereas these movies are sometimes a little interlinked, but it's mostly you're just watching another Final Destination movie, so I can compartmentalize them better in my head. And these movies have better rewatchability in general. Like, I don't want to watch Resident Evil 4 out of the blue and then 2 years later watch Resident Evil 4 again if I haven't seen the other movies. Whereas these, excepting the Final Destination, right? Excepting that one, I can throw almost anytime someone's like, hey, John, want to watch Final Destination 2? I'm like, yeah. It doesn't matter what I watched last time a year ago. Like, I'm in. You don't have to be in the right headspace for these movies, I feel like.
If someone called you up and said, John, I got tickets and I know that you're available to go. You just wrote on Facebook, I have nothing to do today and I'm willing to do whatever someone offers me. I'm game for whatever. And someone says, hey, I either have tickets to an all-day marathon of Final Destination or an all-day marathon of Resident Evil. Which one would you go to?
Ooh, that's difficult.
Do you want to marinate in that while I give you my answer?
What's yours? Yeah, would you do Resident Evil because they're plotty?
Well, all right. So if we generally enjoyed the majority of the Resident Evil movies. I think by the end we didn't really like the final one, the final chapter. It was okay.
Yeah, I just like how they brought it together at the end. Yeah.
So it was good, but it wasn't a slam dunk. However, with the Final Destination series, I could watch 1, 2, and 5 any day of the week. But if I had to sit through 3 and 4 again, I just lose my mind. Watching so the Final 4, the Final Destination's 80 minutes long, 82 minutes long, right? With credits, extended credits. I mean, they do everything in their power to make it so it can hit the theaters past 80 minutes. And it took me about 4 times to get through it. I just watched it and I'm like, what is happening? Why? And so you know me, I take fastidious notes and I really detailed, and I was like, you know what? I have to do it. So I went on the DVD and I looked for extras, and thankfully there were none. But I supplemented that by looking for everything I could online. I listened to the Dead Meat breakdown of it, and they included some cool things. But watching the Final Destination is more painful to me than anything that Resident Evil offers. So I would happily rewatch the Resident Evil series in an all-day marathon. That's
fair.
So I don't have to deal with Final Destination 3, and I don't have to deal with the Final Destination.
You know, there's something about the fourth Final Destination movie that I've noticed with a lot of movies that I've historically hated, and that is with each subsequent viewing, I hate it less, but it's because I have a better idea of exactly what I'm getting into.
I never want to.
And so so honestly, this recent viewing of the fourth Final Destination movie was probably my most pleasurable viewing of it. That is not to say I'm recommending it to anybody, okay? I'm just saying that of all my viewing experiences, this one was better than when I didn't even know what was going to happen when I first saw it in the theaters.
So when you saw it in the theaters with the 3D, what did that enhance the experience?
It enhanced the experience of my annoyance with these. This was like 1980s 3D, though. This was throwaway 3D. This was not like clever, innovative, well thought out Avatar 3D.
This movie, though, you could tell that they really want, like, the framing of every shot, like the way they framed everything and the way the actors are standing, they wanted it to play for 3D. So when you're watching it in 2D, it's like, so 3D cameras are very heavy. And when we talked about Paul W.S. Anderson, the director of Boogie Nights, did Resident Evil. Paul W.S. Anderson directing the fourth Resident Evil with this 3D, they were massive boxes, and they couldn't move it much, and that limited their shots. And I felt like the Final Destination, they just thought about 3D. And I was trying to talk about the characters with you, and you're like, they don't have names. What did you call them?
Dude, these characters have no names. They are jerky frat guy. They are car wash girl. They are escalator squishy girl.
Racist.
They are dude who has premonitions and understands them inconceivably well with no help.
The cowboy.
That's who these people are.
The right. Cowboy.
They're like, dude, yeah, even IMDb calls one of the guys racist.
That's all right. So in all these series,
it says cowboy, MILF, racist, and I'm just like, whoa! I am not writing that in my written review.
Yeah, it's just so they have names. The racist name is Carter, which is also the jerk from the first Final Destination. These people, I just couldn't. I didn't like any of the kills. And you know what's interesting? They built all these rigs and they squished actual dummies. But everything just looks so CGI'd.
Yeah, no, it's funny. So in the initial opening sequence, right, because the opening sequence should be pleasurable in any Final Destination movie. And the special effects of the car going into the stands at this like NASCAR-like event, and then like when these stone pylon like rafters were falling down, it looked like a decent video game effect superimposed into the film of a movie. And when the stone rafters fell on people, I swear to God, it almost fell too fast, like in a video game, like faster than even in reality. It looked like video game stones falling on Wile E. Coyote, and then like the people just disappear under it.
Yeah,
like they're just gone.
And the wild thing is the director who did Final Destination 2, which I would say the best opening sequences are in 2 and 5, but the CGI in 2 is fantastic. The logs, I mean, we're talking for 2005, that era, but the CGI was brilliant. So the same director, same writer, Eric Bress and David R. Ellis, second unit director of Deep Blue Sea, and Cellular, and Shark Night 3D, but Jeez Louise. So, and Snakes on a Plane. I don't get how this felt like. So I have another question. Let's say Final Destination 5. So this movie made a ton of money. It made a lot of money. Final Destination. Yeah. It made, 4. 4 made more money than any other Final Destination. I mean, you got to bump in inflation, but it made a lot of money. But everyone hated it. So Final Destination came out, and it's the lowest grossing of all 5. What would happen if Final Destination 5 was released instead? The Final Destination never occurred, and Final Destination 5 was Final Destination 4. Does that make sense?
Then next week we'd be recording a podcast on Final Destination 12.
Yeah, exactly, right? This movie, The Final Destination, I think really it got the most eyes on it at the time, and it sucked. And then arguably the best one came out after it, and not many people cared because they're like, that last one was horrible.
And I was a little surprised at the pacing of the release too, because the movies came out in 2000, 2003, 2006, 2009 for the fourth one, so every 3 years. But then the fifth one, after that disastrously bad one, but as you said, it made the most money, was only 2 years later. So I guess they were rushing just because it made money, even though people hated it?
Yeah, you're right. You have the 3-year gaps and then the 2-year gap. Maybe they were just like, that sucked. Yeah. We need to get this, movie back. But I guess what I love about Final Destination 5, right? This director, right? The writer, Eric Heiserer, he was Oscar nominated for Arrival, the Amy Adams movie. He wrote that script.
Oh, cool.
Based on a short story. He also wrote Bird Box on Netflix, which is based on a book. But then he also wrote The Thing, the remake, the prequel, and then he wrote the Nightmare on Elm Street reboot or remake. But then he came out and he wrote Lights Out with Teresa Palmer, and that director went on to do Shazam. So Lights Out is good. And then he has a new movie coming out, Bloodshot. And then the director, I don't know if you know about this, but he used to do like stunts in second unit on Avatar and Titanic. He's a James Cameron acolyte, this Stephen Quayle. So these are two talented fellas who made this movie. So it's like they messed it up, then they brought in the right group, but then the damage was done by 4, so then 5 just didn't take off.
5 was amazing, though. 5 was great.
Well, there's characters. So, I love the callback to the logging truck, but all right, so in 4, they don't even deserve names. Like the guy who gets his organs sucked out of his butt. The lady who goes into a car wash when she doesn't know if her, what do you call the window on the top? Your sunroof?
The sunroof thing.
If it'll even close. She paid for the car wash knowing that her sunroof couldn't close.
There's nothing. It's not like these characters had any redeeming qualities to begin with, so it's not like that ruined anything.
Now, another question. In Final Destination 5, I don't know how you kind of feel about this, but so there's the early thing between Candace, the gymnast, and then Olivia, the LASIK woman, Lisa Loeb.
Right.
That's like, she's talking about baby fat, and I'm like, what? I don't understand this conversation between these two.
Yeah, so that little bit that you're talking about strikes me as the most blaringly ill-written part of an otherwise well-written movie. Because if we knew that the one was a gymnast already first, then maybe you'd understand it. But at the same time, we see the gymnast in tights later, and we see Olivia without her shirt on. I mean, she's wearing a bra. And it's like, out of the two of them, I'm giving the higher body fat award to the gymnast. Not that either of them are fat at all.
Well, the one's an athlete, right? Thin. So she's a little, she's a gymnast, probably